Welcome, I'm Ellen Sutherland, and we're being spiritual. So we're carrying on today with tapping, and this time we're going to actually do an abbreviated session. I thought I would choose public speaking, since what I've heard and what the data shows is that people report being more afraid of speaking publicly than they are of dying. So it'd be kind of a good thing to tap out. What do you think? What do you think? So here we go. I'm just going to go through the process with you, the abbreviated process, and we'll see how we do. All right, the first thing that's really important is to think about what it is you have a negative feeling about. So in this case, your fear. So think about your fear. So because it's an event in the future, you're going to speak publicly. It will be a projected feeling. So you have to imagine how you feel, how you will feel when you're standing on the podium in front of your peers speaking. So at that point, you just put yourself there, think about it, and then you take a scale from 0 to 10 and plot yourself on that scale. It's the intensity scale. How intense is your feeling? So if you think about standing up and you're really afraid of standing up in front of people and speaking, it might be a 9 out of a 10. It might be just really big, huge feeling. And that's fine. That's your subjective idea of how it feels. It's perfect. So hold that intensity scale number in your mind. Dial in on what you're feeling. And then the next thing you do is you deal with what's called psychological reversal. Now, psychological reversal literally means that you have beliefs in the back of your mind, that you have fears that say, you know, this simple thing called tapping therapy won't work, or this is too easy, it won't, nothing ever changes, this is the way I've always been. Some belief is tucked back there. It takes a long time to get rid of something. Whatever the belief is doesn't really matter, but you need to address it. And psychological reversal is part of this procedure. It addresses it. So what you do is you tap here on the karate chop point, you know, the point where you, where if you were in karate, you would use to chop a piece of wood in half, right there. And as you tap, you say 3 times, you say, even though I'm really afraid of speaking publicly, so you state your fear, even though I'm really afraid of speaking publicly, I accept that that's the way it is for me. So you stand in the truth of the way it is for you, stand in the truth of your feeling at the present moment. So even though I'm really afraid of public speaking, I accept myself. Even though I'm really afraid of speaking publicly, I deeply and profoundly accept myself. So some variation of saying you accept yourself while stating the truth that you're afraid, or you're sad, or you're upset, or you're angry, or whatever the negative feeling happens to be. So it's very important that you dial in and that you state while tapping on this particular meridian that you accept yourself. That's the way it is for you. So you're not resisting or fighting how you're feeling. You're not lying. Oh, I feel that I'm not afraid anymore. You're not lying like that. You're saying, I'm afraid, and I accept myself. Most important to do that. All right, and then you tap on the tapping points that I went over with you in the last session. We'll do them again. So you tap here on the eyebrow point, and you say, this fear of public speaking, side of the eye, this fear of public speaking, under the eye, my fear of public speaking, under the nose, my fear of public speaking, the chin, my fear of public speaking, all the while dialed in on that fear, collarbone, my fear of public speaking, under the arm, my fear of public speaking, and the top of the head, my fear of public speaking. Take a deep breath. Again, pull up that scenario of standing in front of the podium, standing on the podium in front of your peers, is it still a 9? Is your intensity still a 9? Now, sometimes it can increase because you really have dialed in as you've tapped through it. You're really focused on that intense fear. Sometimes it stays the same because you haven't quite managed to focus on what it is you're afraid of. You haven't quite dialed in. Often it will drop, sometimes completely, so you can't feel the feeling anymore. That's called a 1-minute wonder. More often than that, it drops significantly. So if it's a 9, it might go down to a 5. So you still feel it, but it's significantly different. So you go back to your intensity scale. You imagine yourself standing on the podium again. You've done one round. You've knocked it down to 5, but a 5's not good enough. In this work, you are aiming for no more intense feeling, no more negative feeling about standing in front of people and speaking. Okay, so you're still a 5, so now you go, this remaining feeling, you say, this remaining feeling, this remaining fear, this remaining feeling, this remaining fear, this remaining feeling of public speaking. Stay dialed in, this remaining fear of public speaking. My remaining fear, I'm holding on to remaining fear of public speaking. This remaining fear. Again, take a deep breath. And notice. Has it moved down? Has it stayed the same? Again, if it stayed the same, you haven't quite dialed in on it. Some kind of resistance to focusing in on it. Has it changed? So now it may be down to a 2 or, just a little bit. But even if it's a little bit, it doesn't matter that it's a little bit. It's still there. Okay? So again, I would like to focus on that. You're standing in the podium in front of your peers, trying to do your speech. That feeling, you want that feeling. This feeling I'm holding on to. This leftover feeling. This remaining feeling. This remaining feeling. This leftover feeling. This feeling I'm holding on to. This feeling that doesn't seem to want to let go. This remaining feeling. All right, just release and let it all go. Deep breath. And often you will feel a sigh or just a sense of, often I feel like a real loving feeling will come up, a real good feeling will come up when it's a 0. All right. It's usually only a few rounds to get rid of the first part of it. So what we did then was we imagined standing on the podium doing the speech. So, in university, college, at high school, in your oral exams, you stand in front of your peers and you need to present your ideas coherently and well and organized. And so you need to have some oxygen go into the brain and not being totally stressed out. This is what this tapping will offer you, the release from that terrible fear. I really do hope you try it. But there may be many parts to this fear. So you may have a memory. You may have a memory of public school, making a fool of yourself, as you imagine, making a fool of yourself in public school. So again, I would focus on that memory. Do the intensity scale. Where are you on 0 to 10? That memory may be a 9 or a 10, maybe horrible. That horrible memory of being embarrassed in front of everyone, and you never thought you could ever speak in public again. So with that memory, you would tap out just the same. Even though I'm remembering this awful time in my life when I was totally embarrassed, totally centered out, made a fool of myself, I deeply and profoundly accept myself. Even though I remember that time when I was totally embarrassed, I was just an idiot, I accept that that's the way it was for me. Even though I remember this awful time in my life, I never want to have to speak publicly again, but here I am having to do it. I accept that that's the way it is for me right now. So this memory, this horrible memory, this memory of being a fool, this memory of embarrassment, this horrible memory, this horrible public speaking memory, this memory of public speaking, this memory that won't let go. Okay. So then you take a deep breath. You notice how you feel, and often it will just drop. It will be different. And so that's the way you go through it. So there may be a memory or 2 or 3 or 4. Just go through them. How long did it take us? A few minutes. You go through the projected situation, so what's going to happen in the future. And you may also have to do a dry run or a trial run. So you go up to the place where you're going to speak, and as you walk up, if you begin to feel anxious, you just stop there, do your process, do the procedure, check your intensity scale, do your psychological reversal, tap through until you're at 0. It only takes moments. You can go into the washroom and do it if you don't want to do it publicly. And then stand on the podium if you can, or get as close to the situation as possible. So, what are we talking about? Maybe at max 45 minutes of work for a lifetime of freedom. So that's what tapping therapy can offer you. I hope it's helpful. Peace to you.